Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between the Greenskins led by the Baconator and the High Elves who are going to be led by the crazy Trash Pigeon Lady. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So in the front line, pretty standard against the High Elves, I do have three groups of Black Orcs. So firstly, Black Orcs pretty exceptional in melee. 37 melee attack is pretty good for a great weapon unit. 50 weapon strength, so these guys are going to be able to absolutely clobber most of the High Elf infantry. I think Swordmasters of Hoth do beat Black Orcs, but again, with the Wa and the Bonewood Staff from Warhammer, they can definitely trade very efficiently. So three groups of the Black Orcs here in the front. On top of that, they are immune to psychology, so if there's going to be like a Star Dragon or a Phoenix or any of those other monsters that do cause terror, these guys are going to remain stalwart in the face of those monstrosities. On top of that, two groups of Goblins on the flank, so if you went with a very Reaver-heavy build, had them kind of harassing on the wings, these guys are pretty good for taking those shots. They have Silver Shields, basically just a chaff/filler unit, nothing terribly special about them. In the secondary line, two groups of Goblin Archers, so I have Night Goblin Archers as well as the rest of the arrows here to focus down any high-value targets, and they are invisible and up until they get close to your opponent due to the stock mechanic. So you can sneak up on your opponent, use an effigy and take out things like Alariel, the Fireborn you can get some pretty good damage on with the Armor Sundering. Definitely a must-bring unit in pretty much almost every matchup. For our leadership, we do have the Baconator on his hog, and he's going to be joined by Goblin Big Boss. So I did cut one of the Goblin Big Bosses. I usually bring two, but in this case, I cut one simply so I could afford the Arachnoid Queen. So this thing, a little bit risky because the High Elves do now have pretty good, armor-piercing anti-large missiles. Well, I guess the missiles aren't anti-large themselves, but they do have the Sisters of Averlorn who have really, really good armor-piercing and can melt such targets. So it's a little bit risky bringing the Arachnoid Queen, but I figured if he didn't have a ton of it, or I could at least use the terrain to protect it. Like I could hug the map wall here, maybe run up into the forest, summon some spiders, and once these sisters are focusing something else, I can then bring in the spider. But that's pretty good mass as well. I mean, it can push through spears, it can get where it wants to go, so it's a very powerful unit for sure. So you can see my opponent here with the Pigeon Lady is going to be using Arcane and Forging. Just want to point this out. So I respond with FD of the Get. I'm like, oh, well, might as well get something off. So I pin him down with that. And I do have my two Rusty Arrows here who are going to be following up my Rusty Arrows and my Goblin Archers. But he's using Arcane and Forging on Warhammer. So anytime you're playing High Elves against Greenskins, you pretty much always want to pick Alariel. You then use Arcane on Forging, and it makes it so I can't use my Wa until very late in the game because it adds 30 seconds. And Wa only recharges when you're in combat. So it's very, very punishing. Two groups of nasty skulkers, a couple got Forest Goblin Spider Riders just to muck up enemy cav and allow Foots of Gork to do their business, and that is it for my army. For my opponent, he's got the Trash Pigeon. He does have Dragon Princes and Dragon Princes up on the high ground here, probably going to do a very wide flank. In the front line, he's got four groups of Spearmen, two Sisters of Averlorn, so I was like, damn it, they're going to be good against my Black Orcs and my Arachnoid Queen, so very good pick here for my opponent. You can smell the Queen coming. Two Spearmen in the back, and here he does also have the Fireborn, so the anti-large variant. Going to be okay against the spider as well. So without further ado, guys, let's get this show on the road. So right now he does use the Arcane and Forging. He does quite a bit of damage to Warzog as well. It's almost like a Spirit Leech type effect. So definitely not fun for me. You can see his Sisters of Averlorn taking some pot shots here at the Goblin Big Boss. Nothing terribly devastating. I did get a little bit of damage on Alariel. I believe she did use an Earthblood as well, so I was able to get that pin cushion with the FG of the Get, and then I was able to shoot her with the Gabo. So just advancing here, I have a massive advantage in the frontline engagement. These spears are going to get buckled, but I don't have the Wa, so it's a little bit tough. I'm going to be going in there raw, just no protection, getting in there. And you can see the Black Orcs taking quite a bit of damage from the Sisters, but as soon as I engage, they'll be in pretty good shape. So right here, we're going to be using Ere We Go, I think, or one of the other buff spells. Yeah, and that's going to trigger the Bonewood Staff. So the Black Orcs have engaged in the front line. These ones are going to push through after those Spearmen. Pretty good little tactic here. If he pulls me through and then charges me with Cav, I like that quite a bit, but it looks like it's just going to be a standard engagement. And the Goblins are even smashing on those Spearmen with the Ere We Go, so very happy about that. He is focusing the Arachnoid Queen. So at this point, I pull the Queen back, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to run her around the terrain to get line of sight blocking. I did summon some Spiderlings, so you can see the Spiderlings are mucking up the Cav charges. They're going to be getting to the Archers. Definitely very solid stuff. And the front line is a complete massacre. The Black Orcs are taking a lot of damage. I tried to get a Foot of Gork on his Fireborn, and I actually ended up doing a lot of damage, but he was able to dodge it. Plus there's an Earthblood going, so it wasn't perfect, but I was really hoping that would be able to smash those guys. But the frontline engagement, very, very good. Spearmen are just buckling at all angles. Black Orcs are very healthy, but he does have the two Dragon Princes on the wide pursuit, so he's doing a bit of a delayed engagement here. Looks like this one's coming around here. He probably was thinking, like, do I charge up the front? And, ultimately decided not to, because if he did, I have Nasty Skulkers, I have Forest Goblin Spider Riders, so I think he's going to be taking the wide route here. Anyways, the fire coming in from the Sisters of Averlorn, just shooting at Warzog and the Goblin Big Boss, but I'm just piling in everything I can. You can see my Goblin Archers have scooted up here, and they're going to be taking pot shots at the Fireborn until they're pulled out of range. Forest Goblin Spider Riders are going to be pushed through the opening in the gap here, going after the Spearmen, and eventually collapsing inward. But the Fireborn are still here. They can cycle charge and kind of keep me at bay, so here they come. Fireborn looking to intercept my Forest Goblin Spider Riders right here, so they're just going to ride in there and probably kill some of them and then fall back. But Black Orcs have really good armor piercing. That's what's so cool about them. Like, they can fight, you know, Dragon Princes pretty effectively. I mean, they are, you know, I guess more designed towards infantry, but they have relatively good melee attack to get through. So the Star of Averlorn is going to be going down, keeping those Fireborn healthy, plus the Earthblood. That is some fat healing. You can see the HP just going up by like hundreds per second. But now that the sisters are a little bit occupied and are constantly running, I'm able to push the Arachnaut Queen through. And this is going to cost some medicine in the back line here. The Arachnaut Queen also going to lend some armor piercing to the Fireborn fight. We're getting some decent overwatch here, but in the back, the Dragon Princes on the wide route, there's two groups coming in. So I have the Nasty Skulkers, and I'm trying to do a timing where I use the Smoke Bomb right before they charge, and I pop it right here, but unfortunately it didn't go off. So these little goblins are just going to get absolutely massacred. I tried so hard, I got so far, but unfortunately in the end, it did not matter, and these guys are able to come in there and just run over my goblins. So that's going to be pretty much a wash here. I have my other group of Skulkers. I don't know if I tried the same thing over here. I think I was just rushing into position. Some Overwatch fire coming in from the Rusty Airs and the Night Goblin Archers, getting some pretty good work, and these guys are actually still fighting. I was quite proud of them. I do pull back some Forest Goblin Spider Riders, but they break instantly. But these Skulkers do kind of disrupt the charge with the Smoke Bomb, so this is great. I'm going to be able to hold these guys in place a little bit, maybe get some of my archers away. The Goblin Big Boss is coming back. I do pop an effigy on these Dragon Princes to get Warzog back there, and also buy time for my Black Orcs. So I detached some Black Orcs from the front line. I was definitely winning very heavily. I was like, okay, I can use these guys in the secondary line. So the Black Orcs coming back here, and you can see they're going to take some of these Princes to Valentine, which is going to be great. However, he does get two groups of Nasty Skulkers. He also breaks one of my archers pretty efficiently, but thankfully I was able to get these Night Goblins out. I'm not sure if the Rusty Airs escaped or which direction they did, but anyways, very, very close fire, and now the Bounce Fire is pretty much dead, even despite his front line buckling like that. The Pigeon Lady, though, does get in there. Very good timing for my opponent. He gets Alariel, he sweeps in, he realizes that it's mostly Dragon Princes around Warzog, and I've been pushed a little bit out of the defensive pocket of my Black Orcs, but right before I break, I'm able to get the first wall of the game off. I was so excited. My Goblin Archers have set up. They're taking some pretty good shots, so the Dragon Princes here are getting a little bit whooped on, but a huge win for my opponent. He is able to get Warzog, so sloppy on my part, very good play on his. And he's going to be chasing off Warzog like completely off the battlefield. But in the time that Warzog is being chased off the battlefield, I do have like relative freedom here. I would say I have an advantage here in the front. The Arachnaut Queen as well as the Black Orcs doing a very good job just chasing down the Sisters of Averlorn. You can see the Summoned Spiderlings definitely very annoying. Are just going to be chasing the Sisters as well as the Arachnaut Queen. So I'm basically just trying my hardest to shut down all of his options that he has to deal with the Arachnaut Queen, because if I can, I feel like I'll be in really, really good shape here. So Black Orcs just fighting some Spearmen in the front line. The Rusty Airs are kind of sitting in the pocket like an NFL quarterback. Going to be taking some pot shots at these Sisters here in a moment. And even the Goblins, look at these bad boys. 39 kills against Spearmen. The Wa as well as the Bonewood Staff definitely serving them very well. And the last of the Black Orcs are kind of cleaning up here. Some Forest Goblin Spider Riders as well, trying to sweep through the back line and get onto these Sisters. But my opponent very keen on that with these Dragon Princes is going to be hunting me down. Thankfully, we are able to clean up most of the Princes in the back. You can see the two that went after my Archers. They have 10 models. These ones have, 26 models. They're at about 25% HP. And the Black Orcs are still just an absolute force to be reckoned with. So I am able to break the Fireborn. I pulled some Black Orcs and summoned some Spiderlings. And the Spiderlings will actually be using to chase them off the battlefield. Because the Spiderlings, a lot of people don't know this, they actually have 76 speed. So one of the really solid things you can use the Arachnaut Queen for is you can simply use the Spiderling summon if there's like a routing lord or enemy unit, and you just chase them off the battlefield with the Spiderlings. You can see we might be able to break the Fireborn here. I'm not sure about that. They're pretty elite, so unfortunately, they actually are wavering. Are they going to break to the Spiders? They're so low on HP, and they do go to -15, which is nice. So the bounce power now pretty handily in my favor. The Black Orcs here are going to be pushing their way back into the fight. You can see Dragon Princes, and I think these are the Scions of Mathlon are still fighting, but no, those are actually just standard Spearmen. So pretty much everything for the Elves is broken. The one bad thing for me is that the Baconator has been chased off the battlefield. He does have Alariel the Radiant. And High Elves are one of those factions that can be a little bit tough to finish off with Dragon Princes, and the Sisters of Averlorn, man, they've been an absolute terror this game. So right here, the Goblin Big Boss taking quite a bit of damage from these Dragon Princes. I do get some Black Orcs in as well as the Arachnaut Queen, so they're going to start cleaving some skulls for Gork and Mork, getting in there, hopefully karate chopping some of these bad boys. Definitely going pretty well. They're terrified. Yeah, they're taking a lot of damage. But right now you can see my opponent, he does have a decent pocket of troops here. So some of these Spearmen, he's going to be falling back, trying to get those guys back online. And something else that's a little bit tough. The Pigeon Lady is going to be very good at just flying around and cleaning up the scraps of my units. And she probably has Arcane and Forging, so I would assume she has plenty of Winds of Magic left. I haven't seen too much magic this game. So she could easily get like 1 or 2 Arcane and Forging on my Spider. And if he's able to rally some Sisters somewhere, let's see. So up here, hey, he does have some coming back. And I know the lads were trying to get up there. 56 of these bad boys, but the Sisters are able to kind of pick them apart, which is unfortunate. Yeah, he might be able to rally and get something going on. I did summon some Spiderlings here, or actually had some summoned earlier. And these guys are just going to be cleaning up the spearmen. So getting a lot of value from these guys, just chasing off a lot of those high elf scraps, which could make a difference in the late game. So a little bit of fast forwarding here, as I do have to chase my opponent down. So the Forest Goblin Spider Riders are going to be chasing the spearmen. He's trying to pull me away to buy time for Alariel and the sisters over here. I am able to get some of those guys. If I'm not mistaken, I think I finish off this group, and then I summon a group of Spiderlings with the Arachnoid Queen to try and chase off those other 2 groups, and the Black Orcs are going to start making the long march over here. So Sisters of Averlorn with some pretty good Overwatch fire, melting some of the Black Orcs, a little bit unfortunate, and he does get a really good Star of Averlorn, so heals up the Sisters as well as the Dragon Princes to a pretty decent amount of health, and the Spiderlings were able to chase these guys off, but unfortunately these Spearmen, despite the fact that I have like a ton of these guys and the Spearmen are so low, they actually hold. So they are actually able to hold off the Spiders, and it looks like they're going to win that engagement. I mean, these guys were like full health. So now the Bounce of Power is like pretty much dead even. Arcane and Forging coming in for my opponent on the Arachnoid Queen is able to do some pretty good Spirit Leech-esque damage. And I'm just advancing right now, but he does have 23 Sisters who are going to do a ton of damage to like everything I have. And Greenskins don't have the best leadership, so losing my Goblin Big Boss or pretty much anything of substance is really going to suck here. So Bounce of Power, even going towards my opponent's favor, just ever so slowly as these Sisters do kind of work on me. So I'm trying to stay out of range of them while I push forward with the Black Orcs and try and pin him in the corner here. He does have some Spearmen coming in, but it looks like they're just going to waver and break. And another Arcane and Forging, so he's really just trying to optimize his Winds of Magic. So from here, we're going to push in the Black Orcs going up here, and now I have the Goblin Big Boss. So I was happy about this. I'm in a good position. I can chase him, and he's not really going to have time to sit and shoot because of the Big Boss. So the Big Boss does have Poison, which is going to potentially allow the Black Orcs to catch up. So the first Big Boss gets in there and just punts those Sisters, doing a good job on his little spider there. But I have to watch out for the Dragon Princes. They could definitely just smash my Big Boss. In the meantime, the Queen is going to be hiding in the forest, 1100 HP, having to be really careful. And you can see I've actually lost the Bounce of Power lead. I mean, he has a relatively full health Lord. I'm pretty beat up, just a couple Black Orcs. I mean, thankfully, Alariel isn't the best duelist, so we have a pretty good fight here. I'm able to occupy him, and when the Sisters are occupied with the Black Orcs and the Big Boss, I scurry the Spider Queen out of the forest. So she's getting in there, just punting these archers, doing a pretty good job, but man, these guys are elite. They just will not give. So he decides to land the Pigeon Lady, understandably so, to allow the Sisters to turn and shoot at the Spider. I do force path some Black Orcs through, so you can see I'm like spam clicking, trying to get in there. But this is a great situation because now Alariel is attacking a Big Boss and the Spider. She's trying to get away, but the Poison, very, very powerful here. Well, I could have sworn I saw him like trying to turn, but anyways, Alariel, just taking a ton of damage from the Arachnoid Queen. Just an absolute world beater. She has missile attacks as well with Poison, which are kind of slowing down the Pigeon Lady. You can see she's trying to get away. She has 21 leadership, and now the Bounce Power is swinging back into my favor for the first time in a little while. And the Black Orcs here are just going to be piling in and cleaving these Elves. Oh, it feels so good. Like any game where I can like beat Wood Elves, High Elf, like Archer builds or anything, like, oh man, it's so gratifying. So the Black Orcs are just piling in here. They're going to be cleaving with those great weapons of theirs. And it looks like Alariel, the Pigeon Lady, is eventually caught by the Arachnoid Queen and the Goblin Big Boss, which prevent her retreat. And his army is going to shatter due to army losses. So very well played to my opponent. That was a very back and forth game. I was really stressed out that whole time. I was like, oh god. I'd like it was my first game of the day. I was like, man, no, this is going to be such a hard one. I know he's a pretty high ranked player, but yeah, the Black Orcs definitely paid their dues. I think that one of the things that did cause him a bit of trouble was when he took the wide route with the Dragon Princes. Like, it left his front line very vulnerable because that was like, you know, a substantial portion of his kind of meat and potatoes there. And I was able to just smash out the front line. His Arcane and Forging was obviously very solid, but we were able to get a decent foot of Gork on the Fireborn and eventually just work our way through, you know, with pure attrition. But he also had a very good play where he picked off the Wurzog when he was able to chase me off the battlefield. But honestly, though, the rear charge from the Dragon Princes wasn't bad because I had overextended most of my defensive units. I just had the Skulkers back there, and they kind of just got run down by the Princes, and he was able to get a lot of gold there. And that also led to Wurzog being killed, so arguably that was I guess that worked out pretty well for him. But yeah, I like this build. I thought it was pretty good. Black Orcs will win the front line usually. You have some Overwatch, you have some anti-harass stuff. I feel like it was pretty well-rounded. Plus the Queen is always a pretty good choice. For the High Elves, I liked his build. Yeah, I mean, the front line did get crushed up a little bit. A lot of times people are going to use the Dragon. That map is a little bit weird too. It's like hard to get good charges because of that like center point. But the Dragon Princes definitely did pretty good. I mean, 119, 199, 86, definitely not bad at all. But the front line engagement was definitely really brutal, even without the wall. I think that was kind of the big the straw that broke the camel's back. But then my back was almost broken by those Arcane and Forgings. Like, had that Queen broken off the battlefield, I might have just lost that game. So it was really, really close. So anyways, very well played to my opponent, Lord Gainer. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this Greenskin game. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.